If you want 10x results, you can't keep doing what got you here. You gotta let go of 80% of it. But the thing about greatness, the thing about a higher calling on your life is that it never leaves you. It never leaves you. If you want 10x results, you can't keep doing what got you here. You gotta let go of 80% of it. Hi, everyone. I'm Letitia Barriola, host of The Letitia Barriola Show. And I got this idea from Dan Sullivan's book, 10x is easier than 2x, gifted to me from my coach. And I learned that to get 10x results, get a bigger life, reach those huge moonshot goals, you can't just work harder at what you're already doing. You have to let go of 80% of the things that are keeping you busy. You have to delegate it, eliminate it, get it off your plate, and go all in on the 20% that actually is your zone of genius. This is the stuff that only you can do. That's the stuff that scales. So I'm living this right now. I am busy in my big girl job. And I'm also busy in my podcasting business where I'm producing podcasts for clients. And I am building their content, I am producing shows, and I'm managing clients. And I have to say that even though I enjoy this work, the true calling, what I see myself entering into my late 40s and 50s and 60s doing is around my own voice, is my own creating my own content and figuring out ways that this gift of mine can support our life. But so 20%, I want the 20% to be, having clients and doing work with other people and supporting their projects. And so my 80% right now is production work. It's paying the bills. It's keeping me sharp and in the media industry, and I enjoy it. It's comfortable. I'm good at it. But it's not actually building the future that I want for myself. So the real question becomes, what are we holding on to right now that's keeping us comfortable and maybe even keeping us a little bit small? So maybe it's clients who drain your energy, but you keep them because it's steady income. Or maybe work that you're doing that you're really skilled at and really good at, but it doesn't light you up. In fact, it's driving you into burnout. Or it's a business model that maybe worked 3 years ago, but isn't taking you really where you want to go. Like it's just on that, we're doing all right status. So Dan Sullivan's idea here is that most of your results come from about 20% of what you do. Every hour you spend in that other 80% is an hour you're not building your 10x. The reality check here is that you have to start looking at what is scale taking up 80% of your time. Has to be one or the other. Some kind of alignment here. And so is it aligned with the big dream that you have for yourself? So it's scary because you're thinking like, in my instance, would I be letting go of less predictable income or like predictable income, stability? Is it releasing a part of my identity? Like, is that messing with my ego if I kind of tone down the production work and lean into my voice work? And will this actually work? Right? Can I build a media business off of my gifts and my voice alone? Can I prop up an entire ecosystem with my voice? Even as I'm saying this, my soul's saying, yes, you can. Yes, you can. But we live in a society today where there's a formula that we follow. You go to school, you get a good job, and I've challenged some of those norms by leaving my first career as a news anchor and going my own path. But I think if I'm honest with myself along the way, I found myself getting back into a more secure everydayness and the way that I'm contributing to my family and the way I'm bringing in income and using my gifts, I can see myself settling a little bit back into the norm. But the thing about greatness, the thing about a higher calling on your life is that it never leaves you. It never leaves you. And so as much as you want to bury yourself into norms and what feels comfortable, you will never feel at peace until you give the higher calling, you give what you know God has told you to do, you give the bigger vision of your life a shot. And so as I'm reading this book, it's making me confront just how I'm going about my business as an entrepreneur and as what I'm now trying to be, which is a content creator, a personal brand. And I want to invite you to also think about, when you think about 100% of your time, what are you spending the majority of your time, 80% of your time doing in terms of your assignment, in terms of your mission, in terms of your purpose? And if that 80% does not support like the real dream you have for yourself, the real dream. I always say that like there's a dream and there's like a dream underneath the dream. Like what's the real thing and so for me, in a way I am living a dream, right? I have flexibility. I have a business, a job that I really love. I like my clients a lot. Like this is good for me. But there's a dream that lives underneath that. And that dream requires me so much more of me. And it requires me to trust that I am enough, that I don't need all the other things in order to build out a career around my voice and my content. The dream beneath the dream takes more audacity and boldness, takes more discipline and commitment. It takes more practice, and it just requires more of me. And so what this book is helping me understand is, in order to figure out how my voice is going to land in the world, then how am I truly going to make more time and space for me to work through that? What does that look like? Now, let's just be real. A lot of us, the 80% is what pays the bills. The 80% is what, if you've got kids like me, like, hello, the 80% is what gives stability and freedom for your kids to be able to do with, whatever activities they want to do, for you to travel, to eat the way you eat, to live the way you live. And it's complicated, right? The money is complicated. I'm married to an entrepreneur, right? Like, I just wake up one day and say, okay, so I'm going to close the majority of my business so I can figure out, how to build another business. It's complicated. So I do think on one hand, the book is empowering to help me look at the 80-20 of my life and help me like realize what my 10X dream is and like the reality of what it takes to get there, which is like you only have 24 hours in a day. How much of those 24 hours are you dedicating to the 10X dream? Like it actually brings it down to a very practical, so how are you going to get there level? But I do think for a lot of us, we can't just give up the 80% and like eat and like let that income gap be there while we go figure it out. Like a lot of us have to like slowly but surely lean into the 20%. And I'm not sure how honest it is about how hard it is to let go of like a steady income. But I will say this, it does paint this really good picture around how just working harder at what you're already doing isn't going to get you closer to your 10X dream. And that a lot of people think, like it talks a lot about realtors, right? And it talks about like the realtors that go from making, 40,000 or something in sales to becoming multimillionaires and like really 10Xing their business. The moves that realtor has made to get to a multi-million-dollar business, they're taking big leaps and big transitions in their business in order to get where they are. they're not simply trying to just sell more homes, or they're not simply trying a new marketing method. They're not trying to just work harder at the job. They have figured out a way to delegate, maybe in one case, delegating a lot of the marketing work to someone else, getting like this person, the example, realize they're better at listing homes than they are. So like they were making these moves that in some ways were making their business smaller, but it was freeing up this agent to now really work on their zone of genius, which became franchising and training teams. And it became personal development, going to conferences, networking. So offloading the 80% of what an average real estate agent would do in their day-to-day to someone else freed that real estate agent to also make some leaps and bounds in the business. And so when you think about that for your own life and your own work, if you want to transition and you want a 10x dream, me and you have to start thinking about, okay, what are we doing less of so that we can take that 10% we're doing less of and move it over here into our zone of genius. We may have to get very creative about it. We may not be able to shut down a whole business so we can start a new one. But my commitment to myself, and I want to challenge you, is we have to start thinking bigger about the changes we're going to make so we can pursue the real thing we feel we are called to create. We're not going to settle for just burning out and working harder, making more money, getting more clients, and hoping that eventually I'll be able, no, we're going to have to make some big decisions about how we divvy up our time and divvy up our work. And if we really want that 10x dream to be a reality, that is what we're going to have to do. So I encourage you, I'll drop a link to Dan Sullivan's book in the show notes for you to maybe come on this reading journey with me. And let's make these 10x dreams happen.